Welcome back, I'm Linda. Today I just finished up a fall scene with some beautiful fall colors. I love working with the red ochres and the oranges and the yellows. Beautiful reflections in the water. And a new color called sand. I love working with that one. So I hope you can follow me, pause and paint. So let's get started. Here are the oil paints I used. Liquid white on the base of the canvas, titanium white by Winsor Newton, phthalo blue, black, Van Dyke brown, sap green, cadmium yellow pale hue, a beautiful gray, blue gray by Master's Touch, a green bean gray, burnt sienna, red ochre, Indian yellow, yellow ochre, sand, and orange by Artist Loft, and brilliant red. So now I'm taking my canvas and I'm applying liquid white all over the whole thing. Just a nice coverage. And I'm taking a blue shop towel and I'm going over the whole thing, taking the excess oil off the whole thing, because you don't want a whole lot on there. So now I'm going into the blue-gray of a Master's Touch, and I'm going to start putting in the sky. So I'm just tapping in with a 1-inch, doing little X strokes. The corners might be a little bit darker. I'm just working my way down and over. And then on the other side, leaving the center fairly light. And then I'm going to be brushing across with a clean, dry brush to smooth it out. I'm making my horizon line on my land line there where my water will start. So I'm going to bring some of that blue-gray down. It's just below the halfway. And I'm going to go kind of angle to the right there and just bring it down to that right corner. And just blend it in the best you can. So now I'm going into a tiny bit, just a dot of red with white. So I'm making a real pale pink. I mean, you don't need much at all. I just want a little bit of color in that sky. Just a tiny bit of pink. And I'll be going over this, smoothing this over with a clean, dry brush. Now I'm going into what they call green bean gray. It's another one of Master's Touch. I really like this color. And I'm going to start tapping in with a 1-inch. I'm going to put some foliage, some trees. Off to the left, I'm just going to dot in. I'm just kind of guessing where I think they will be. I want them kind of heavy on the ends. And up on the top there a little bit. It's going to be a fall painting, so this is just, you might say, the underpainting. I'm just shaping those trees a little bit. I might be dipping in to a tiny bit of the cadmium yellow, just a little bit with that green, just to give a little variance of various color there, to break it up a little bit. I'm going to angle off to kind of a slope on the right. There's trees way at the top, and they kind of reach out toward the top. Now I'm putting in with a little bit of that green just where I think my shoreline's going to be for my water. I'm taking a little bit of red ochre. Love that color. A little bit of red ochre with my 1-inch, and I'm just tapping. Just get background color for some foliage. That's all I want, is some color in there. Now I got my fan brush. I've got a little Van Dyke brown, a touch of black. Just want it really dark at the base of those trees. So I'm just building this up with different variations of color. I'm letting the paint fade out on my brush. I'm going to add a little more Van Dyke and a little bit more of the red ochre. You can use the same brush if you want. I just wanted the same dark color at the base of that shoreline there. And on the right hand side is going to be a big landmass kind of sloping down, but I'm just putting that darker color in there because the brightest area is going to be kind of in the center there. So I'm just going to make, and on the other edge it's going to be fairly dark, but the middle part, I'm going to leave it light. So I'm just tapping in over the top of that dark Van Dyke brown and black with a little more of that red ochre. Going up a little bit on the left, using the same brush, just putting in some background color. And a little more of that green bean gray with a little bit of sap green mixed in it, and a little bit of the, you can put a little bit of yellow ochre or cad yellow on your brush too, just to give it some variation of shades of greens. So I'm bringing that brush up, kind of angling. The trees are reaching off to the side to the center, and I've added some more Van Dyke brown to that brush. I'm going to just tap in some more at the bottom of that, the bottom tree line, I guess. And on the right there, it's going to be a big landmass there. I'm going to continue down with bushes on that side, so you don't have to be too fussy there. But I'm going back into my green. I washed my brush out and going into a little bit of darker green. Add a touch of brown to that green bean color, just to give it a little bit of darkness there. Leave it a little bit open too. The sky is going to be coming through a little bit on that, in that area. Same over there by the pink. So now with my fan brush, I'm just kind of lifting up. I'm going to make a little peninsula that comes out, a little landmass. And I'm just working my way. I'm going to figure out where that's going to go. I want a little water open area behind there. So I'm going to just be careful and not cover up that water line behind there. Just make it like it's a little landmass sticking out there. And again with more greens, a little darker now, adding a little more sap green to that with a touch of yellow. And you don't have to cover all of the red ochre, just put it in just spots. Okay, so I'm just putting a little bit of yellow ochre below that, below those bushes and that on the little landmass, just bringing it out a little bit. Taking my palette knife with some white, I'm going to accentuate where the shoreline actually is. Just going to follow along there, just below those bushes, and I've added some darker black and brown there. And I've got this little brush, geez, I've had it for years. I call it my scruffy brush. I used to follow Donna Dewberry. She was a one-stroke artist with for flowers. And I love this little scruffy brush. I've had it, and it makes the best little leaves on the trees. You'll see. I do use my sponges too, but I go back to the scruffy brush. Now I'm taking a fan brush, I'm make another landmass that kind of comes out, and I want to leave a little water behind it. So I'm just tapping, trying to form exactly where I want that to come out. So I don't want to cover up the water behind it. So there I'm shaping where that landmass is coming out. Got a little Van Dyke Brown touch of the burnt sienna. Kind of a reddish brown there. I just want to keep that base fairly dark. I'm going to angle around down to the corner on the right side, and that's going to come down pretty far, but I'm just kind of playing around there trying to figure out how the angles that I want, because I want it to be rather realistic. So if it looks kind of weird, it all will make sense in a little bit. But I'm keeping my lines like straight across where the water flow is going to kind of seep onto that land. Taking my fan brush, and I'm just a little bit of Van Dyke and red ochre. Now on the other side, I'm going with that pretty sand color. Sand, that is another Master's Touch color. I really like it. So I'm putting my sandbar there, the sand mass on the left, bringing a little more on the right there with the same fan brush, putting a little of that sand over on the other side. And with a small filbert, I'm just kind of blending in the shoreline, pulling some of that dark color inward. And I'm adding some Van Dyke Brown, I don't know, rocks or sticks or whatever they are. It's very uneven there, so you don't want it to be looking flat. That whole area there is going to be have some sunlight on it, so I'm just kind of staggering that brown here and there, rocks, blending it in, going into my dark brown Van Dyke, the touch of black. I want it really dark, so I'm going to just tap in the bottom corner, like maybe bushes or just shrubs or whatever down there. I want it really dark. And bring some of that up underneath those bushes there where the red ochre is. Just here and there. Don't cover up your red. You need some of that dark in there to give it some depth, contrast. And I'm adding some more of that dark color in the back there, the back line, and then on that little piece of land that comes out too. Just tapping some of that brown in there. You don't have to be real fussy. I mean, adding a little bit of sap green in there. Now here I am using my little spongy, and I have started with my oranges, dipping my favorite sponge that I think is a good leafy one, and I'm just going to town on that up above there, just shaping my trees, even adding a little red to it, some orange, and then back into my yellows, and just getting the groundwork for pretty fall leaves in there. And I'm going to try and get that little bunch of trees right there. I added some trees, okay, and you can put wherever you want. It was Van Dyke Brown and black on a liner brush. I put those in, and then I started putting my leaves on. So you want to get the trees in there first. And just with I got that old scruffy. It's kind of a flat, I don't know, it's a stiff little brush, but it makes for some really nice leafy things. I'm dipping into a little bit of the orange, straight orange, over that yellow here and there, because it's bright in there. It is very bright. That bunch of trees in there, it's going to be mostly yellows and oranges right in the middle there. That's the sun. It's going to be hitting, or it's going to be the lightest area, I should say. So I'm going to leave a little open area of green where that tree is. I'm going around it with my oranges. I want to leave a little green tree in there, just a little bit, and just keep putting where I think the oranges should be. So after a bit, I'm going to take a real pretty bright yellow and I'm going to go over the top of that too. It's just a matter of layering, you know, and it just gives your painting so much more depth and realism. And over on the other side, just here and there, that isn't going to be real orange on that one. I'm going to have that tree, it's more of a yellow blossoms I'm going to have on that tree. And I did, if you can see on that little peninsula there, the land, I did add a little bit of blue, phthalo and white, just to add a little color in there. You see that blue in there. But now I'm going into a little more orangey red added to my orange, and you can use that red ochre also. Put that down first and then put your oranges on the top, and boy oh boy, it just blends in and it looks more natural. Different shades of oranges, and you can add quite a bit of yellow to your orange to brighten it up. But it's good to do your dark first and then your next medium, and then the lighter and lightest, you know, on top of those colors. That's what really makes things pop. And you leave some of those dark areas there in there. Now I've got straight red ochre. I love that color. It's so brilliant. I'm just tapping in a little row of, I don't know what they're, little bushes forming. You don't have to tap very hard. Then I'm taking a soft brush and I'm tapping just underneath them, just to soften them up a little bit. Kind of like the way I do clouds. Yes. Adding a little more red on top. Could be sumac plants, I don't know, but it's a very bright, beautiful color. Now I'm going into burnt sienna. It's a reddish brown with a touch of orange, a touch on the end of that. And I'm just going to tap in, because that corner is going to be really dark, but I just want to tap in a few, oh, I don't know, twigs or leaves or something down in that far bottom corner. And going into my yellow ochre with a touch of same color. More of a yellow ochre, I guess. It's just more of a yellowish brown, you might say. But I'm tapping in there just to kind of separate some of those darker areas there. Even putting in some black, really dark, maybe Van Dyke brown, the touch of black. I want to just get that, some texture in there. There could be rocks or whatever laying in there. You just don't want it one flat color. You want to give it some texture. And it's just a matter of tapping that color in. No set pattern, it's just tapping. Leave some of that light area in there, and yeah. I'm taking that corner of the edge of my palette knife. I'm just kind of scratching up tiny little twigs and things, grassies coming up. See how cool that looks? You can also use your, liner brush, but scratching up like that gives it a whole new dimension, because you can add liner brush grasses later. So now I'm going back and really brightening up that yellow, going into cad yellow with a little white. I'm really brightening that up, because that center area is I want it to be glowing, I want it to really be bright. And just a little area on the right. You don't have to do the whole thing. Maybe here and there on the right. Put all that yellow in there, and then tap his little oranges in there. Orangish red. And if you don't use a sponge, like I said, that little scruffy brush, or you can find a gnarly 1-inch too, a brush, and you can tap your leaves in with that too. That makes great leaves too. I know it's tedious, but now I'm tapping in some yellow in there, putting some highlights where the sun probably will hit. There's my little scruffy. I'm just doing some highlighting where the sun may hit on the tops of those bushes, just on the tops. I'm adding a little white too. Just tapping. Now this tree on the left, I'm making that with little blooms on, white blooms. I'm just grouping little sets of blooms here and there. And then from a distance, it looks good. Still tapping in some more. Dark orange with a touch of red. Leave some of that dark area in there. Now I'm going into that blue-gray, and I'm going to take like a filbert, and I'm just sliding my brush across, and I'm leaving some lighter areas. I'm just lining it across. I'm going to put some darker blues in between that, but I'm just trying to establish the way the water flow is coming, adding a little bit of phthalo here and there with that gray blue. Trying to keep my lines fairly straight. Adding a little more of the yellow ochre and sand, kind of angling up to that corner of that little land piece there. And along the edge of the shoreline. Just bring a little sand out into the water just a little bit. Just make it look, like the water's washing up and rushing back. It doesn't have to be a straight line. It just kind of zigzaggy, makes it look more realistic. And it's alright if you have little blobs there. It almost looks like rocks, when it's just kind of here and there, zigzagging. Very soft touches too. darker areas in there. I want variations of dark and light. I'm going to be putting some grasses in there, dark woodland grasses. So now I am going into a little bit of cad yellow, touch of light green, and that's sap green with yellow in it mixed up, and you get the really light lime green. But I'm just going to go along the shoreline and just kind of zigzagging. You're not going to see it too much, but it's just variations of color that you want to put down. The sunlight is hitting some of that sand there. I'm going into my Van Dyke brown, darker color. I'm going to use a smaller filbert, smaller round. And I'm just going to slide over that a little bit with that brown color. Just kind of zigzaggy, leaving some dark areas, creating some depth, just squiggles. And if it's too dark, take your finger and just kind of smudge it a little bit. Or you can take a shop towel and just blot it if it's too much. But it's just a very small amount, and you're just kind of jiggling that brush around back and forth. Okay, now I'm going into my yellow and white, and I am creating, I know it looks weird, but the sunlight is going to be hitting right there on the that pointed peninsula there, that edge of land. I know it looks weird now, but I'm just putting in some yellows in there, and you'll see later how adding some darker colors in there just makes it look really natural. And it's just sliding that little brush across, keeping my lines fairly straight. Kind of angling that water line, angling it over, and working my way down. See, like I said, it looks kind of weird now, but now I'm taking some Van Dyke brown, a little bit of yellow ochre, a little bit of the burnt sienna combo, and I'm just kind of smudging those yellows, just pushing up a little bit, just leaving a little bit of the yellows showing. Going into my oranges, I'm going to dot some, maybe some leaves have fallen in there. Just put a few orangey areas in there. Clusters of leaves probably have fallen there. I'm going into white, straight white on my palette knife. I'm going to keep my angles fairly straight. I'm going to create some little wave movement. Just gently following the edge of the shoreline, and adding a touch of yellow too, because the sunlight is glistening there in the middle. And just keeping my angles fairly straight. So I'm going to add some darker blues right behind the white, but I'll do that after. I just want to get my a flow of the water the way I want it. You can follow that edge of the shoreline, adding a little darker blues in there, very faint, very faded. Now with a little gnarly little fan brush I've got some dark brown and black. I'm making some little scruffy little grassies. Just getting them started, and then I'll be using a liner brush to make some really nice. There we go. Some nice grasses that are going to come up. And that you need to have your brown kind of not well like ink like. So you have to put a little bit of odorless mineral spirits in the brown, and it's going to be real like ink. So, and that's what's going to make those really fine, pretty little points. Just lift up, twirl, turn, and they should come out really cool. Put as many as you want in there. So I'm going to add some more on the other side and down the corners right there where the trees are. I'm putting some white in there. A little bit of white, could be a little yellow mix, mainly white I think. Just bringing that in, lifting up, down the front. And if you mess up, just put a little dark in there, cover that up. So I almost see a finished painting here. I really enjoy doing this one, and I hope you do too. So click on follow me, subscribe. Until next time, happy painting, and God bless.